What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Tuesday Track Talk with your Three Stones Pit Crew, episode number 6. My name is Cameron. I'm your tire changer.
My name is Kellen. I'm your Jack man.
I'm also Cameron, the gas man.
And if you were paying attention to the socials earlier today, we got a jam-packed episode. We're going to be talking about the previous weekend with the Falloween 150 from Dells Raceway Park. We got the Dirt Track World Championships from Eldora. We got Homestead Miami with the Cup Series, some playoff implications there. We're also got some big news that we kind of talked about a little bit before, but the high limits and All-Star Circuit of Champs. Along with our race previews for the coming weekend. So before we do jump into that, though, fellas, what's going on since we last reconvened?
Just the Badgers just getting by. Getting by is an understatement. I didn't get to watch the game. I just got to see the highlights. I was obviously with you at the Dells.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say, I think on Sunday, I think I got a little windburn on my face.
Really?
I showered and I got out of the shower and my face was like cherry red and like right under my eyes. It burned pretty bad. Like even yesterday, it was still a little bit like
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I mean, we sat in the wind and the rain and 49 degrees to see a
Well,
be a hell of a race.
yeah.
But yeah, the Badgers get by. The Packers look terrible. I don't know.
I mean, look, Packers season's all but over, so it's time to jump on that Badger bandwagon ASAP. So
we're gonna run it back to that Ohio State Saturday night Gil Reith opening kickoff return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
I was at that game.
I watched that Badger game this past weekend and just got our shit pounded for 3 quarters, and then for whatever reason in the fourth quarter, whatever came to life. So I was losing my shit. Love a big man Tutter to end the game.
Yep.
Big O lineman, you love to see him. But my oh my, if you are the train's leaving the station this weekend, we got a big one. And I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna call my shot for a team that has caused me so much pain, misery, and heartbreak in my life. This is the weekend that shit stops on our turf, not theirs, not neutral turf, our turf. It's gonna get a little bit spooky. Badgers are gonna get a win.
Do I even want to mention what the line's at right now?
Fickle said it in his press conference. College football, not always the best team wins. Look, we're not the best team. That's clear. But if you saw that backup quarterback in that offense, yep, in the second half there, old Cuzzy can sling it. And I felt like that was a win that our team needed to show us, like, hey, we can actually do this. Like,
yeah,
you know, whatever. But for a team that is just, shattered my heart for the last, have to go back to 2010 to get some joy. That ends this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be on NBC too. So you're gonna have national coverage of that game.
Big one. I actually, before we hopped on, I got a little workout in, and then just to get some happiness and hype, I literally watched a 16-minute rewatch from 2010, Ohio State, Badgers, Camp Randall. They were number 1.
Just gets the mind right.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that every night the rest of the week. So
like I said, I was at that game in 2010, and I remember that kickoff getting returned. Holy cow, was that place loud?
Yeah, but outside of that, no. Another awesome weekend of racing. Didn't go as planned for the dirt side of things, but always got the show in and made the most of it. So no I'm gassing up, boys, because I'm ready to go.
Heck yeah. Oh, it's gonna be a good weekend. I'm actually going to the Packer game these next 2 weekends, actually. So we'll see how that goes. But
Well,
besides that,
do
yeah.
you want me to tell you how it's gonna go?
Oh, let's just say the beers are gonna be flowing probably. I better get my drinking mittens on.
Get your liquor coat on.
Yep, exactly.
that that team is just straight in full regression mode. Like we are not
Oh,
getting. Yeah,
what a time to be alive, I guess.
Badgers. I feel like we're at least like, we show flashes here and
Got a
there.
chance.
Yeah, like they show flashes here and there. But coming off a bye week, you would have thought like the Packers, hey, we would have figured some things out, looked a little bit better. That team,
No.
that team was lifeless.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about some happier things like racing.
Yeah, let's talk about some racing. So we'll work from the local scene and we'll make our way to the national scene. So we'll start with the Falloween 150 from Dells Raceway Park. So it was kind of I had mentioned last week it was twin 75s, which I was halfway right with the twin 75s. What it ended up being was two 75 lap segments. The first segment was the makeup from the icebreaker at the beginning of the year, and then the last 75 was the Falloween 75 to make up for it. So started off early. They had a practice session on Friday for anybody that wanted to show up, and started off early with old Ty Fredrickson, who I was really ambitious to see run that race and see what he could do. Smashed it in practice. From what I heard, he ran about 7 laps, backed her in the wall. They brought in the pits. That car was on the trailer in 15 minutes and gone.
Yeah, I think you look at that, a young gun, probably not used to the cold yet, working on getting those Hoosiers heated up where he was
Yeah.
just having a hard time. And we saw it in qualifying as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've hit a few guys.
back it into the fence between 1 and 2. So yeah, it'd have been good. He definitely would have held his own. He ran well there for the Midwest Tour, so
Yep.
it'd have been interesting to see what he'd have done.
Was it strictly didn't have heat in the tires and just backed her in there? Nothing broke on the car or anything?
I would assume so, because I mean, Fredrickson never, at least on the Facebook page, they never said anything broke.
Yeah.
It kicked off from underneath them, and I mean, we saw it during practice on Saturday and qualifying. I mean, guys were just straight up losing it. It probably took, I don't know, probably that 7 to 10 laps to get some good heat in the tires before you could really put a good lap down to see what you had. And really, it was with that kind of mindset, it was going to be you had to have a race set up, because qualifying, you were just trying to survive. So, but going into that race, we talked about we talked about guys that were spinning it. You have Ryan Farrell, who literally spun it coming out of 4, coming to take the green, has a throwaway first lap, and then he goes out and sets fast time with the second lap.
Yeah, dude.
Just
he had that car about 2 feet from junk.
oh yeah.
Spins it around, eats them up, gets a junk lap, and then he mats her down and puts down an absolute burner, which he's been faster. I mean, he's gonna be pretty solid. But
Yeah. I wish I would have had the radio on when he was qualifying, because I'm sure he had some comments to point out in that.
yeah.
Well, it's like I told you when Jeff Storm spun in practice trying to put some heat in the tires. He goes, "Well, I was a little embarrassing. I told you guys I wasn't a good driver."
Yeah,
So,
man.
but it started off early. So the lineups get set, and I mean, right out of the gate, DeAngelis kind of takes off right out of the gate, sets a good pace. But then he goes and has electrical issues during the race that took out a huge contender right out of the gate.
Yeah, with him being on the front row and running well there, that you would have to think he doesn't have gremlins. He may be one that runs away with that first stage, just being somebody that's been so solid there at the Dells.
Yeah.
He had a hot rod in practice and qualified decent as well, obviously. So he'd have been an interesting one to have him make those 150 laps to see where he ended up.
Yeah. I was a little surprised with the invert too. It was a very, very low invert. It was only 2 plus the roll of dice, which ended up being I believe it was a 2.
Two
No,
or
it was
three.
no, it was a
Was it?
4 because Eddie Hoffman was on the pole.
Yeah, the
It
invert.
was
Yeah, the
4.
invert was 3 to 8.
Yep. So it
But
was Eddie Hoffman that was on the pole, qualified 6th, which is good for him. He doesn't run up there very often. It was good to see him at least have a good qualifying effort. So it was Eddie Hoffman and Johnny DeAngelo starting on the front row.
yeah,
And then DeAngelis jumps out front and leads the first handful of laps and just, yep, electrical issues, those gremlins come and got him, and ended up being down to pretty much Ryan Farrell and Luke Fenhouse there for that first segment. They put on a pretty good race too. Fenhouse was just on his bumper waiting for a mistake and just never got to capitalize on any mistakes Farrell had.
yeah. Farrell slipped up a little bit here and there, but it was
Yeah.
never enough to give Fenhouse the lane to get a nose under him.
Yeah.
Was Johnny D, was he winning the at WIR this year when
Yeah.
Yep.
he
That was,
smashed that lap car?
yep.
Well, when that lap car smashed him.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He would have been about the
how,
only one that had anything for Majeski in that race.
how
Yeah.
frustrating does that have to be as a driver?
Oh, super frustrating.
I mean, for somebody like that who runs well a lot of places that he shows up and is competing for wins, and then once you get wrecked by a lap car, and then you go to something like this and you're running up front and electrical issue like that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if you're going to go out of the race, like let it be on your own terms.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
and
Yeah.
like as a not as a driver, but as a fan, you just get pissed that stuff like that happens. So I can't even imagine what it's like going through all the prep and putting together a rocket and then getting out there and something like that happens. But
Yeah, and DeAngelis is very, very smart with the race car. For a while, he was setting up his own stuff, and then Travis Sauter hopped onto that ride, and he's been helping. Is it Travis? Is it or is it Chris Wimmer?
Chris Wimmer.
Chris Wimmer.
Travis.
That's right.
Travis
Travis is on Somers.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. There you
Yep.
go.
Chris Wimmer. He another guy that he knows his way around a race car and it was a very good driver on the super late model scene for a long time. So that's the two of them, putting their heads together and putting a race car on the track. I mean, they're going to show up wherever they go and run.
you guys were good for a quick side tangent question.
What you got?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about inverts?
I like them on the late model scene. Absolutely.
You guys a fan? You like it? Do you not like it? Well, I guess what are you guys' thoughts on inverts at like these local races?
I like it. And I like the roll the dice invert, not like I know why the Stars does it this way is to still keep their fast guys up in the front, but not like the redraw or anything like that. Like on the local scene, roll the dice, sends the guys in the middle to back of the pack, and it makes a guy work for the win. I think it adds an impromptu storyline in the race. I mean, if we're going to compare it to NASCAR, you see guys that, so and so is coming from the back. Let's see how he can make his way up through the field. You get that every whatever race you go to on the local scene, especially up here.
Yeah, I would agree to a certain extent. I think with the inverts, I do like the inverts. Sometimes I think when they get to be too big, they become an issue. And the dice roll, I think it's close because I can put, depending on what your invert plus is, if you got an invert plus the roll, that could put your fast qualifier 12.
Yeah.
with a 6 and a 6. I like it. I
I
mean,
think it like you were
I'm
saying,
gonna
it's that
say,
invert number.
yeah, I'm gonna say I'm 90% with it. I'm 90 to 95% with the invert, and especially around here where our super late model racing is so tough up here. I mean, we have stellar fields all the time, and we're lucky to have that up here. But
Yeah.
um, some of these shorter tracks can make it really interesting really quick. A place like the Dells, a place like Slinger,
Yep.
these short tracks, they can be pretty damn interesting pretty quick. But uh, I don't know. You start to get that invert of 12. I think that's where I'm like, I don't know. I can see 8. I'm good with up to 8, 10 at the furthest. Because you don't want to punish the guys per se that are coming off the truck fast, but um, I do think that it does make the racing really really good.
I've never paid attention to how like the invert numbers determined, but like a number that popped to mind was like the highest invert is a third of the field. So 30 car field, the highest invert number you could get is a 10.
Yeah,
Something along those lines.
yeah, I don't mind that for sure.
Maybe add 2 spots just to maybe make it somewhat a little more interesting, or maybe a little farther back in the field. But that was the first number that popped in mind. I'll have to keep an eye on that, see if there's any rhyme or reason to the invert number.
Yeah, because it's always
I'm
like, I mean,
thinking,
when we get to the track, we just know.
Yeah. Yep.
You get to qualifying. All right, your quick time, you have your invert of 3 plus the roll.
Yep.
So you know that your quick time is going to start at 9th at the worst.
Yep.
So it'd be curious to know, and I'm sure these series have their reasons for picking them, and it could be based on the length of the track as well. But that's something we should maybe keep tabs on as we go.
Yep.
I was thinking, I'm like, some of these guys that, I think I can see both sides of it. I like it for the storyline. Like you said, you like to put a fast car, a Majeski, Kraus, or, somebody like that who, shows up and has a quick car. Like, it makes for good racing. But I
Mhm.
think to Kellen's point, like, you walk such a fine line. Like, don't punish them. Like, these guys got it dialed in. And then, I would say like 10 at the most, because then I feel like, you get to that and it's like, you put cars in front of you that can, hey,
Ryan Newman style. Yep.
that will just make your life a
Yep.
living son of a gun to get around them. And it's like, come on.
Danny Fedrickson and Ty Majeski.
Yeah, does the quick car that showed up here and has a rocket ship,
Yeah.
does he really deserve to, not be able to get around somebody because somebody, we talked last week about, guys racing each other tough because they feel like they, maybe they race somebody different because of an on-track incident. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the
Well,
invert because, like you said, you also don't want to show up to this track and it's like, oh, Majeski goes quick time and he starts on the pin and it's like, well, what a great race. He
Yeah.
the pin and led all 200 laps and had a 3-second lead. Nobody even came close. So
You're right.
I like it. It makes for good storylines and it makes for good racing too. But I think there's a fine line of like, don't punish them too much because then you're going to let, maybe somebody that isn't going to win the race, that's going to run that, 5 to 8 range is the best their car is, could determine the race winner. So, but
I think that's where like the Stars tour probably does it good. Where okay, it's the top 8. Yeah, everybody knows if you get in that top 8, you're in the redraw for those positions. So you add that incentive of being a fast car and qualifying to get there.
true. And it's also random.
Yep. Yep.
Same,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yep. High Limit did the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? It was a random.
They did that for their dash race.
Okay.
So it was whoever made the dash race did the redraw, and then whatever the finish of that was the start for the feature.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's like that on the World of Outlaws too. They do the dash race, and that's determined by a draw, and then the finish of that race is the start of the feature.
Got it. Okay.
But on that invert scene too, like there was a discussion had of, well, you're going to see guys sandbag, or what's the chance of sandbagging? I bring up the Slinger Nationals for an example that does have that invert. That's I've heard a lot of drivers, or seen a lot of drivers say that's the second hardest field to qualify for in the country, first being the Snowball Derby. So when you're first to 16th, which is what locks into the feature, is only split by a tenth of a second, you're telling me you're going to be able to sandbag yourself into that 8th spot? No, not a chance. You're just
Got it.
doing your damnedest just to make the damn race.
Yeah, for sure.
So that conversation got brought up.
Yeah, I think I think you talk about that. That's gonna be your smaller-ish races that still have a
Yep.
decent field that you can potentially qualify in with your long run setup on the car.
Yep.
But yeah,
when you come into a big race like that and you have a qualifying setup and a race setup.
Yeah. And you're using them for exactly what they're supposed to be.
Yep.
So
yep. 100%.
Sorry to get a sidetrack, but that was just a random question that popped in my head as we were talking about it.
It's a good debate,
No, it is.
I mean, you look at a lot of these bigger national touring series, it'd be interesting to see that go, whether it be an invert or like a random redraw as they do. It'd be nuts to see that in the Cup Series.
And that's like you bring that up. I was just about to
dice
mention
roll,
that.
quick qualifier. Your invert is 3 plus the dice roll. You can start 9th.
Do that if all-star races at North Wilkesboro next year, you get that short track. What the hell? Why not?
Yep.
Put that little spice of life in there.
For sure.
No, circling back to the 150 though. Richie Bickle coming out of retirement for the second time this year again. Well, third if you're counting Oktoberfest, but he was in a Legends car for that one, so that doesn't count. That's a trickle thing. So, back in the super late model again. I was wondering how he was going to do, especially being out of super late. Kind of showed a little bit. Not a great qualifying effort. Was kind of mid pack to the back of the pack in the race. Put in his best effort or best audition to run the Baja 1000 next year by going through the grass, and ultimately just has the motor go on. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, as they would say, he's doing a little agricultural racing.
and then
honest to God, hats off to him for saving that car. But he wheeled it through the grass. That thing was kicked out sideways, and that was after it was done raining too.
So so that grass is muddy and slick, and and to catch it when it comes back onto the track too.
Yeah,
keeps that thing from spinning.
That cost him a lot of track position, but
But and then ultimately that motor gives out on him and ends his day before he could really make something up on it. So but no, Ryan Farrell won the first segment over Luke Fenhouse. I got a real close race there. Farrell was having himself a time at listening to him on the radio. He said that winning that first segment was one of the goals. He said, it was just the trophy itself is beating Luke Fenhouse at the Dells on our Live for 5 race.
Well, at one point, the dude was so animated.
Oh my God.
He's in the car and he's just, let's effing go. Come on, you guys killed it.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, and then it gets the rain and he's pissed at the world. What are we doing? The windshield's dirty. It's not raining. Are we racing or are we not? Come wipe my windshield. Stand by the car until they kick you off the track. Wipe my windshield. Wipe the rear windshield. The dude, he's
a good listen.
Yeah,
it's a good listen.
But
I always say if you could bring a scanner to the racetrack, bring with you, but don't be afraid to hear some uncensored, non-filtered comments coming out. We'll just leave it at that.
Yep. So, yeah, no, good listen though.
Yep. So yeah, what Farrell beats Fenhouse there in that first segment. They do a re-invert of the field from there. then you move on, and you start seeing Casey Johnson start making his way through up the field. Kind of quiet in that first segment, but you see him coming on in the second
Well,
one. Johnson again making an appearance this year.
yeah, I mean, for again, and he ran a race there earlier this year, and he was fast, but in that first segment, he quietly worked his way and finished third.
Yep. Got
He caught
himself
the
again
invert,
in
I
that
think.
invert, and
Yep, he got it. The invert got him to fifth, I think, to start segment two.
yeah, yep.
Fourth or fifth.
It was he. I think he lost 1 or 2 spots in the invert, something like that.
Yeah, so he had the invert, and even at the end of that first segment, he came on the radio and he said, F it, we're going to try to win one of these things. I'm not saving nothing.
Yep.
And he let her rip, and he was going to get there, and you knew he was fast.
And he even said it during the some of the choose cone things too. He said, "Oh, I'm going to try the outside. What the hell do I got to lose? It's
Yeah.
got to give it the shot to win it."
He kind of went in with we're here to win it and win it only, and that was it. But I do think that when you say that he said in his on track interview post race that it was a shame to see that brand new car sit all summer. So
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if he's got the bug to really go racing again after working with Paul Hemus the whole summer.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, over the off season, he ended up getting diagnosed with vertigo, which kept him out of the car. And he said he was going to try and work, see if he can get himself back in. He's been running kind of some of the shorter races, which I think this lined up pretty good with him running some of them shorter races. I don't think anybody really knows what he's at health wise, if he can do a full-time gig, but it was good to see him back, and guy still got it. There's no doubt about that.
And after he won that race, you could just hear him on the radio, and they just told him just to soak it in and take your time. So, that was pretty cool. Pretty cool to hear.
Was racing Sommers. Sommers was running up front there late in the race. And kudos to both of them because they both raced super clean. And Johnson's just kind of kept, putting the pressure on him a little bit.
Yep.
And even poke him. He just put the pressure on him. Sommers, and I mentioned it to you too, that Sommers was running about a half a lane up in turn 3 and 4, and Johnson took advantage of that. He just got the nose poked in there, came off of 4, and he was able to fight for the lead with him.
It was just just enough to get the lane, but it wasn't enough to wreck him. And Summers knew that when he came back, because when Johnson got by him, he could have sailed it off in there and did what they did in the Cars Tour this weekend and tear a bunch of stuff up. But we don't have that up here. So I think Summers probably knew that Johnson had the better car, but it's one thing to know somebody has a better car and respect that. And
and late in the race like that too.
Yeah, and it was because it was what, 5
we passed him with
three to go.
Yeah.
It was like late in the race when we're talking you're racing for the win. And if you don't follow Ultimate Lap Photo, great follow.
Yes.
And we posted on our Instagram as well. He had a really good write up on, and he said it perfectly about this race. And it was just a tap, just a touch. And when Summers knew he was out of it, he let Johnson go by, and he could.
He didn't let him go by, but he knew.
Well, he knew Johnson had the quicker car.
He knew if he went by, that was the race.
Yeah, and it was a respect thing. And at the bottom of the post, he said some of these guys maybe don't like each other, but they respect each other.
Correct, because they all know that they work on their own stuff.
Yep. No, it's not this. It's not this pay to drive deal where you're footing the pay a bill and somebody else is turning the wrenches and you're just, this is what it needs. You go hop in the car and go. These guys are literally building these cars, especially even with the short seasons. They're building these cars from the chassis up.
Yep.
Starting in the snow in the middle of the winter, and they're building these cars to be ready to go in late April and early May to race until October. So,
Fenhouse was kind of quiet in that second segment too. It was never really a contender. He thought we even thought he may have had an issue. Apparently, he sorted it out on the track and was able to come back. I don't even remember where he finished in that second segment. Finished 5th in the second segment. Just didn't have anything in that second segment, but ends up clinching the championship pretty much after sweeping the first 3 races of the really 4 races of that season. First back-to-back champion that alive for 5 series.
Yeah, pretty cool deal. I do think it is pretty cool that they got Madison in on it this year.
They've done that the past couple years. They had, it's typically that second or third race ends up being at Madison.
Yeah, that's a cool deal. I do like that. It's cool to kind of keep the change a little bit per se. But still have that same series. So again, it's a track that everyone's close to, or a lot of those guys around here are familiar with. So pretty cool deal there.
So no, great way to wrap up the racing season up here in the Midwest. That's pretty much really the last hurrah for everybody. Another side note there, James Swan got the Truck Series championship there too, 6-timers. So
Side note, I'm just gonna tell you, the 2-car Lowell Bennett, that car does have air jacks in it. I confirmed that, and apparently I got a buddy that works on a car at WIR. In quotations, it's awesome. So Cam, backstory in this. He comes off the track for practice, pulls up to the trailer, and where we were sitting, you could see him. And it was like Formula One style. That car just picked itself up. And I looked at Van Grohl, I'm like, what? He goes, I missed it. I said, when he comes off the track, watch. They bring an air hose around and it plugs in somewhere right where the driver sits. And that car's got 4 posts right in front of each tire. And the car literally just picks itself up. And it doesn't pick it up off the ground a ton, but it's enough that you can change tires, and shocks, and do whatever else. I looked at him, I go, what the hell just happened?
Because I saw for that scuff session, I was kind of keeping an eye on him because I saw him climb in. So I was kind of watching him. And I saw it just.
Yep, he's sitting in the seat right here. He unhooks the hose. The car just.
Well, I think it's on. I think it's on the passenger side. I think it's kind of. Oh, you see a lot of them put like the black box or like the in-car camera kind of like right by that post. I think that's where that's at.
Either way,
something like that.
It's a quick connect, and that car picks itself right off the ground.
Yep.
Like IndyCar style. Dude, that was nuts. Especially super races. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
But something interesting you see on the local scene too, but like that kind of, I mean, dirt guys don't have that, but you also see like dirt cars got those dirt lifts on them that they just back up the car, grab the remote, press the button.
Yep.
Picks it up. Yeah.
But yeah, I've never heard of a car having it right in it, but
oh yeah. That was,
of course, I wonder what the price tag on a sucker like that is.
Well, depends if you do it yourself.
And what you mentioned too, the weight. What kind of weight does that add to the car, especially with it being on all 4 corners? I mean,
and where are you putting it?
Right.
So I don't know. That was crazy. That was pretty cool to see, but can confirm. So that was kind of my last little note there on that whole deal.
But no, again, great way to wrap up the racing season up here in the Midwest. And I already got the itch. I'm waiting for next year to come down. We got the first one with the Dells. They always end up having the last race and the first race of the year. Their icebreaker, April 13th. So we'll see if we get similar weather to last weekend as we do that weekend. So moving on to the dirt scene. Obviously, the big show for this weekend was the Dirt Track World Championships. Pretty much the only thing that was racing on dirt this weekend. Everybody else was pretty much off. Kind of took a while for them to get going. A lot of rain that dampened the track. Saturday they were going to try and run it, but it was just real rough. Obviously, I think everybody pretty much saw that big wreck. I don't think any of us have seen a super late model flip like that, a dirt late model flip like that before. And that was hard. That was hard to watch.
Yeah, thank God the guy got out from the car. That was, I mean, it barrel rolled a couple of times, and then it went end over end, and it was laying there, and you're like, man, it just did not look good. And ultimately, that's a hard part, especially for them at Eldora. When you're running a show like that, it's so hard to make a decision like that. But to shut a show down after a wreck like that, but at some point you just have to make a decision, your hand kind of gets forced.
Yeah, because Cam, when you said it in the group chat that they shut it down or they postponed it for safety of driver and whatnot, in past, when you hear a comment like that, that's usually never good news.
No.
You know, you hear you always hear the release afterwards, so and so passed away, and I was kind of waiting for that. But again, it was good to hear that the driver's okay, and it was purely just because of track condition. It wasn't conducive for racing, and Sunday was probably gonna look better to just postpone until then.
Yeah.
And especially that guy was running by himself too.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the lead.
Right.
All by himself.
All by himself, and he's running, and all of a sudden you just see the two left tires come up, and it's like as soon as you saw it, and as soon as when you see the bottom of
Oh,
the
you're
car,
along for the ride.
when you see the bottom of the car, it's never ends well, and it's never good. And
Yeah.
and you hate that for that guy too, because that's
his big.
Oh, I mean
shot.
that car's probably junk.
that's junk, and that's on the track. Like
Yeah.
that's not on, he didn't
Didn't hit anybody or
wasn't racing tough, didn't
mechanical
get bumped. Yeah, nothing. I mean, that was solely track. So
hit a bump and it just
hate that for, and I mean, I guess you could say it's part of dirt racing, but I think that was a little bit, a level up considering track conditions there, and
yeah.
you hate that for probably just another. That was a support division, so again, we always talk about these guys that are working on their own stuff and footing the bill to just show up to some of these shows. Like, we absolutely hate that for somebody like that.
So yeah, we get to Sunday. They run all the prelims for that. You get to the main event, and again, track was rough for a lot of them guys, and it took out some of your contenders for that. RTJ is one of them. He was out early, and that's a heartbreak for him.
It was just kind of like it felt, and you can kind of look at it. He hit a bump, caught a rut, however you want to see it, and it shot him up the track, and he kind of ran through Jimmy
Bobby,
and he caught Bobby Pierce too on the end of that. Tore up that whole right front suspension and A-arms and all that other stuff. And at the end of the day, good for them, for that crew that got all that stuff changed, get him back on the track. That's like most times you see that in any other race, and that's it for the night. But Burrows had that crew tuned up that he knew exactly what they were going to do when that car came off the track. So that was like a little bit sprint car style ish.
Yeah.
With that stop.
Yeah.
Before we dive totally into this, I guess I want to just gather initial thoughts on a lot of mixed reviews on the format.
I figured that. I was waiting to see when it was going to come up.
The four guys that locked in: Moran, JD, RTJ, Hudson, O'Neal. Those four guys are the only four guys running for the championship. Points reset. It comes down to the final race. What were your guys' thoughts on the format?
Helen, you go first.
I've been thinking about it, and I just don't know what to tell you. I feel like it needs to be somewhat based on the regular season. Now, it shouldn't give a huge advantage to the regular season champ, but I think the regular season champ's body of work needs to be acknowledged. Maybe it's a 10-point advantage Ricky Thornton has coming into the weekend. Maybe you go 10, or 10-5, 15, 10-5, 0. Your top four placers. No, I agree with the four. I agree with that. I think I like that setup of having four guys race for a title. But to have Ricky finish third, you got to find a delicate balance of it. And I just don't think you can discredit what he's done all year. The dude chased the tour year round, and that's my dilemma. How can we stagger it that he has a slight advantage, but it's not like when he goes in there, all he's got to do is take the green flag to win the title,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
And that's where I'm trying to figure out what the balance is, because again, I think you talk to anybody that follows Lucas Oil late models, and it's
Ricky was your champ.
Who should get the championship this year? Or,
I
or
mean,
who
even me being the dirt track novice that I am, I agree that RTJ was your champ on the year. And I think all the competitors said that too.
Yeah, we'll rewind to those picks that we made last week.
I struck gold by accident.
Old tire changer, he picked RTJ, and you were called on early there for a couple tire changes. So, but no, I think it is a fine balance because, like you said, you don't want a series where it comes to it, and it's like, oh, if RTJ just turns, if he makes the show, the title's locked up. But
So
again, this counter argument would be, this is what NASCAR's doing.
Yeah.
Lock yourself into the final four, and we get to Phoenix, and you got one shot on Sunday afternoon.
So I saw a comment on Facebook today. It was actually from Ricky Thornton Jr. Racing. I don't know what the original post was. I could probably find it, but I'm just reading some of the comments in it. Somebody came in and said that during the broadcast that there was apparently a vote amongst the drivers to add the Final Four format. And then, the comment was, well, if the majority agreed, why is everybody telling it sucks? At the end of the day, everybody racing the same track, which is correct. But then Thornton came back and said that no one voted. The announcers keep saying that they did, but nobody voted. We found out when they announced it at PRI, I forget the name of it, but it's the convention for performance racing. Everyone raced on the same track and quarter of the field finished. So it was somebody made a decision somewheres that
at the end of the day,
didn't get some insight.
Correct. At the end of the day, what's coming down to is either the drivers are giving a line of BS or the series is giving a line of BS. And if I was a betting man, I probably am not going to bet on the drivers.
Yeah. Because they're going to be the honest ones.
They're going to be the ones that say, yeah, we didn't want this because we know what we got ourselves into for literally 40 features a year.
Yep.
But
I think, and I guess my standpoint on it too is you didn't have anything leading up to it. Like you said, what was the point of the regular season? You raced the entire regular season and then you reset it for one race. It's with Cup, Cup gets a lot of bash for having the playoff system, but you had the regular season, you had, like you said, you have those bonus points for the regular season, but then you have those elimination races throughout the playoffs that, okay, Martin Truex Jr. is a good example. Those bonus points have been saving him for those first two rounds.
Yep.
And it's just, you cleared the slate and it's like, okay, what was the advantage of the regular season? Sure, everybody likes to win and the checks are great, but your ultimate is chasing that championship. But what was the point?
So that's where I think when you look at that's like how it went from the entire field to 4 cars. I'm cool with that. That I agree with.
Sure.
At the end of the day, everyone outside of the top 2 or 3 at that point wasn't even running for the title anyways. They were there just to sort out 4th to 10th for the payout at the end of the year.
Yep.
Fine. I get that. But I just think there needs to be some type of system around not discrediting the entire season of work for one night. When and Ricky did it, he brought the best of the best, a brand new race car. He brought the whole works. And I get it. It's racing, as they say, it's racing. But I just think there needs to be some type of tier.
There needs to be an incentive.
Correct, because now and Ricky's done a great job talking on this, and he's made a lot of really good comments about it is what it is. We're going to go race, and that's what it's going to be. But I do think there has to be some incentive because if you look at it, somebody that says, "Well, I could get in the Final Four," but if the Final Four is at a track 1 I suck at or 2, I could go there and somebody could run me over, and I finish 4th. I don't want to take that risk.
Old Moran damn near stole it.
I was sitting there with 2 to go, thinking the guy that no one on planet Earth picked to win that title was going to win the
I
title.
was going to steal it. Yep.
Yep. And that's absolutely zero knock on Moran because he's a certified wheelman.
Yep.
But when you look at the odds of those four, they were not in his favor, unfortunately.
He would have been, if you're doing odds, he would have been the guy that had the 4-digit odds, and everybody else would have been 3.
Yep.
I mean,
plus 1,200.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation about in the off season. We'll see if something comes of it, if they change it, if they just abolish it. Who's to say? You don't know. You don't know if you don't try.
Yep.
And all right, we tried it. Now let's have the conversation and let's make sure everybody's on the same page and is okay with it.
Going forward. Yep.
Yep.
I'd agree.
So hopping back into the race though, Hudson O'Neal was another one that had a problem early on. Right rear goes down, maybe some fuel issues there. Somehow makes his way back. And again, he was, he ultimately ends up being your champion for it, but he was down and out early in that race.
Goes a lap down.
Yeah.
I'm asking Kellen, as much as we follow dirt, NASCAR, you got the lucky dog. And I'm asking Kellen, can these guys get their lap back? Like, and do one time. In that one caution, he wasn't in the lucky dog spot, but Garrett Smith was ahead of him and he had already received the lucky dog. So it goes to the next guy. And there he sat, Hudson O'Neal, after everything that he had gone through in that race. And, we're a pit crew ourselves, but I think this weekend, for guys that got full-time jobs like us and they do this on the side or, whatever, those pit crews this weekend, I mean, that's damn near like playing quarterback in the NFL. You see it happen on the track. You're in the huddle. You got 1 minute to call your play, and then that car's there and get out and execute. And everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to know exactly what we're doing, what we're changing. And kudos to all those pit crews because, golly, with the track conditions, they had to be dialed in. And we talked about RTJ and Hudson O'Neal, another one that was down and out, but comes back in as his pit crew gets him right on point with the stops. And
also
roller coaster for Hudson O'Neal.
Side note, I think that caution that got him the lap back, I think that was our guy, Mr. Dome, when he lost that right rear, left rear.
Another storyline in itself.
Cool.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Mr. Dome himself.
That car, how was that car? Like, he took the lead and he literally, in a matter of like 1 or 2 laps, he had a front stretch on the entire field.
Come on, let's just back up to the point where I'm pretty
started
sure
17th, by the way.
What was he doing? What did they do to that car?
Where's that nitrous bottle at?
Yeah. Do you know what I have a sneaking suspicion about?
Oh God.
Not cheating or anything.
No,
but,
okay.
No, not anything like that. Or like Michigan sign stealing.
Yikes.
Nothing like that. But to be honest, what I feel like, and this is just, after he won the Dome and, some of the things he said in the interviews, like, in a way, I was hoping he won that because that interview was going to be must watch. But
off the rails.
Yeah. But my point with him is, he probably had a decent car, and a lot of these guys, he's known for his bull ring racing, the Dome, all these, short tracks like that. And I don't know why I thought this, but I'm like, he showed up, nobody expected him to do anything, and he probably has run a few of these 100-lap races, But my guess is I'm watching him just turn and burn is that he was going there, no game plan other than to drive this thing to the front
and stay in the front.
and stay in the front. And we were talking about, me and Kellen were talking on the phone during that race, JD, he's running fourth, not moving, not gaining, nobody's catching him
Just sitting.
except Carpenter. But he's just sitting there. And I said to Kellen, I'm like, to be honest, he's probably just riding. He knows it's 100 laps. He knows, he's going to ride.
JD's been around the block with these long races.
100%. He knows he's going to ride for 70 laps and then he's going to start turning it up. I guess my sneaking suspicion as I watched Carpenter go nuclear on the field.
He thought it was a 30-lap feature.
He thought it was a 30-lap feature, and we got to go now. And he probably's like, got nothing to lose, happy to make the show. Nobody expects me to do anything in my race. I'm just going to get in. I'm going to put this thing on the top side of the track, and I'm going to drive this son of a gun to the front.
Well, he even posted on Facebook. I think he posted something along the lines of like, winning the dirt dome 2 times in a row has been career changing and this and that. But he said to lead laps in the fashion he did parallels those winning the dirt dome.
Yeah.
The way he did. Like he just said, he goes, that was like, everyone knows he's a short track guy and he's good at the little bull rings, but he made some comments, even he said himself that was awesome.
Well, and I think I saw his wife posted something too that said he didn't win the race, but
they won. They
morally won the race by the car they had and him being up front and leading that race.
Hey, time out. We got some equipment for sale if we're interested.
Oh God.
Boys, get your credit cards. We're going racing.
You realize that's just the equipment. We're still gotta buy the car in the shop.
Yeah, it says.
Of course, we don't need the shop if we're just going out of the trailer, anyways.
Yeah, it says serious inquiries only. I don't know what you guys got for $720,000, but we could try.
Here's an idea: we can all sell our houses and live in that together.
I mean, we all live in apartments.
That too.
So we can all go in on the toter for
getting back to planet Earth here.
But before we come back to planet Earth.
So here's I'm reading Carpenter's post. He just said was one of the most memorable moments of my driving career. From 17th to first ever power steering pump fail while leading. I just couldn't hold the car the way I needed it too much longer. I was completely exhausted and it resulted in DNF. Was I mad? Heck no, but I was very disappointed the speed we found just for a part failure to bring it all to an end. Not only did I personally need the recognition, but so doesn't my dad and all of us equipped on our race cars deserve it as well. So it's a pretty cool deal that's a career moment for him to just lead laps and not even finish. So
and against the strength of field too.
Yeah.
I mean, this was one of those, if you're in a late model, you're probably there.
Yep.
So against that strength of field that was there, that's a big deal.
62 cars showed up for it. So
yeah.
Before we come back down to planet Earth, what if we got that toter and the 3 of us Stones just hopped in that for the summer? Got a little setup in there to record some podcasts, but we just hopped in that thing for 3 months and drove from racetrack to racetrack across.
Oh my God.
Well, we could probably buy the truck and sell the trailer until we get a car.
Sure. Get a camper and
720 divided by 2. That's probably what, 350, 360. Get your credit card, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God. We already got enough bad ideas going around.
Well, they're not
bad ideas, but just knucklehead ideas. That's probably a better term. Knucklehead ideas. Expensive. There you go. Very expensive knucklehead ideas.
Let's start doing some marketing and see if we can find some sponsors.
Oh,
Hey, if you buy this
if you're
for us,
interested,
if you're interested, we will
Lots
put.
available.
Hey, if you buy this, your logo on both sides of the toter. What was that cost? Well, it's 750,000 to buy the
it's gonna be like those
toter.
in-car cameras. They're just gonna be decals all over the freaking place. Does it make sense? No, but your name's on it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, but Carpenter, dude, that was
That Cam, we were literally on the phone watching that, and I go, "What's happening? What is going on? This is insane."
Yeah.
Oh,
Bishop though, he ran a handful of races in that house car. Tell you what, there you go, repping. Tell you what, he put it was another guy that just kind of minded his own, saved stuff a little bit, got up front when he needed to. He came from 14th, and
yep.
he was there right when he needed to be. Good
And
way
you
to
know,
end the year there.
and you know what the crazy part is? That's his team for next year.
Yep.
Whatever series he decides to run, look out.
Here we come, boys.
He is gonna be fast.
that
Gonna have
was
that third leg swinging.
he was somebody that so
Yep.
with the track, I mean, the track was either on the bottom on the inside, the middle was the Rocky Mountains, and then you had to run it on the cushion up against the wall was the second smoothest. The final laps, I'm like, dude, he's just running that thing through the mountains. That car is just bouncing left and right. And you're
Yeah.
like, dude, how is nothing breaking on this thing? But he just smashed the loud pedal right through it
How's
all.
he how's
When
his
in doubt,
brain not
smash the loud
rattled?
pedal.
That too. Just the head knocking in the
Yeah.
seat.
Well, Bobby Pierce posted on Facebook his car's tore up and he has a mild concussion.
I mean,
But
B Shepard's he's a little bit of a unit too, but
but hey, I will say
well,
one thing, and this will be a episode for the off season. His paint schemes, oh my
that
god,
was a slick car. That
that
was a
true
slick looking
timber,
car. Yeah.
hunting orange with the cam on it. Oh my gosh, was that just sharp? I love that paint scheme. But yeah, I was thinking side tangent off season would be some of our top three
Paint scheme
paint schemes.
riggings and
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, B Shep, that was his I think I saw his sixth $100,000+ win.
Oh, I just thought you said it. That's his fifth dirt track world championship
That too.
with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
I was
Knows
just
how to show up when he needs to show up.
Well, you have
record
Kevin Rumley turning wrenches on that car. I mean, that thing
Yeah.
is gonna be absolute fast no matter what.
fifth dirt track world championship for him, earning the
Yep.
$100,000 payday.
Another thing too is, we talked about it that, that championship literally coming down to that last corner, those handful laps before that last corner. Hudson O'Neal, we said it here before. He rides or dies by that curb that curb up on top. And boy, was he riding it all the way around.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, it was no different than Cedar Lake when we were there. Him and
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
Pierce. 700ths of a second. Like, same deal.
He damn near
And
won it.
he damn near won it because Shepard ran that bad boy right out of fuel.
Yep.
Ain't got no gas in it.
Ain't got no gas in it.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think
Literally.
and I think kind of summing up, the whole race. I think Moran kind of put it. I think Moran's interview kind of summed it up. Like a lot of mixed emotions and opinions on the race, on the format. But can we ask for anything better?
Oh, that was a race. I mean, the race itself was just It's all you could ask for.
3 laps to go, 2 contenders sliding each other for a big payday.
And
So to
running
that
down
point-
Bishop for the lead.
So to that point, even outside of the championship implications, even with all of whatever went on with the track and all of this other stuff and all these track experts we got on social media, it was so intriguing that you just couldn't not watch. Like that was the biggest thing about it, is like, as much as it might have been, people said, oh, this, that, or the other thing about the track, at the end of the day, that race was so intriguing that no matter what you follow in dirt late model racing or even dirt racing itself, you were tuned in to watch that because you knew it was going to get interesting in that 100 lap. So that was kind of an interesting take I saw on social media, or I should say Twitter, is that they just said that at the end of the day, it was just so intriguing that you couldn't look away. You could not watch about it. And now the best part is for Lucas Oil, everyone's talking about it.
Yep.
I mean,
good or bad, yes, there's going to be some bad, but at the end of the day, they're all talking.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Ask the Midwest Truck Series.
Hey-oh.
Got him.
I will say, like we kind of alluded to it earlier, Lucas Oil had their hands tied with Mother Nature and that track and what to do.
And hats off to Eldora. They did a hell of a job trying to get it ready. What do you do?
I mean, they do what they the best they could do, but I will say it was like
6 cars finished.
Not a great look, as like there's like 10 laps to go with the caution. They're like, yeah, we got 10 cars on the track, and it's like,
what?
When he started 28.
Yeah. So an expensive night for the boys, to say the least, too. But
well, we do know that $700, $20,000 total will get us home, though.
who was blowing up post McCready?
Oh yeah,
it's just a race.
Just puking the water out of it. Even just, but he brought her home. What they say, 4th or 5th, second to last.
He was giving Bishop a run there at the end a little bit.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
oh.
Kind of reminds me.
McCready might have to leave one last message for Bishop before he passes the Longhorn house car torch. Because that was current Longhorn house car and future Longhorn house car going at it there for a little bit. So McCready gave it all he had.
McCready's motor blowing up right after the feature. God, I forget the driver and even the team, but I remember this one NASCAR race. They were racing at Dega, or it might have been Charlotte. Either way, came across the line. The crew chief said that motor was built to run 525 miles of that race, because as soon as he crossed that finish line, that motor blew, and he won the race.
Jesus.
Same thing, yeah. But I mean, for the situation that we had they had on their hands, I think kind of wrapping that conversation up, like Eldora did the best they could with what they had.
Yep.
Lucas Oil got your hands tied. All things considered, again, Eldora just produces awesome races.
Yep, 100%.
And all around awesome racing. Was more of a 2-lane race. You either had to run the very bottom or you had to run the very top. But all things considered, and the bumps in the corners, whatever, kind of made it a little bit interesting. Like guys running through there, you're just like, you watch them sling it right through that, and you're just like, you're watching dollar bills leave the bank account as they're running through that. It's just
there's $100. There's $100. There's $100.
Yeah. But no, I think all things considered on that weekend, like, again, Lucas Oil, those late model drivers, they always show up. Yeah. And even when things aren't ideal, again,
They'll find a way.
Awesome race. They still put on a show and make the best of what they're dealt with. So, yeah, awesome race, and sad to see that season's wrapped up because I've loved watching those boys this year. It's been a good year. And also, side note, when me and Kel were talking on the phone, it's not great to compete with Sunday night football, but hey, I love the little Sunday night race in action.
Heck yeah.
Like,
That's solid.
maybe not every weekend, but hey, in the summertime, yeah, in that summertime, like that'd be perfect for
Put a
us.
couple of your crown jewels on a Sunday night.
On a Sunday night, that Sunday night race, like I was thrilled watching
The
that.
screens are getting a workout.
Yeah,
big time.
but yeah, I was me and Kel kind of talking. I'm like, shit, I kind of like this Sunday night race, and most of the shows are Thursday to Saturday, but that Sunday night stuff, I liked it.
Do it in June, do it in July before football starts. You don't have to compete.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Well, it's like, Christ, I've done it throughout the entire year. Like I've got the setup here where I got a big monitor up top here, and I got this computer right here. I'll have 3 races going up top here. I'll have one going here. Or it's like I sent you guys a couple throughout the year where it's like I got the TV in this room here too. I'm just trying to find a picture of like that setup, but like I have. Oh, here we go. It's like I got 3 races going on the computer. I got the laptop sitting down here. I got a race going on the TV. It's just, if you got enough screens, go for it. And that's a plus with Flow Racing too. If you got the number of screens, you can have as many races to go with it.
Yep.
The only thing I think too about the Sunday night thing is probably not going to be real conducive to fanfare and fan travel. People that travel to see a crown jewel.
Sure.
But it's the price you pay to see a crown jewel. Most you can do is come out on a Sunday night and take a Monday off for your travel. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could be an off-season discussion there.
Yeah. But Lucas Oil, awesome year. Every week they produced. And yeah, just
edge of your seat action.
Yeah, and sad to see it end.
Well,
starting to sound like Van Grell here. Already looking forward to going to Volusia in middle of January. So
speed weeks, baby.
I was just adding that to our list of off-season debates. So see if we get around to that one. Any final thoughts before we move on to the cup scene?
No, I think we kind of touched on.
Yeah.
No, I again can't reiterate the awesome show. And good to see old B-Shep. I like B-Shep. Good to see him wheel it, and especially in his family car. So good for him. Love that paint scheme. Jeez. Awesome. And
yeah, it's a slick car.
Yeah, definitely gotta check out the schedule next year and see if we can get to some more of those races, because those are awesome shows. So
yeah. Keeping up with the theme, we mentioned earlier that we're getting a championship season. I think championship season kind of ramps up the quality of racing, for maybe lack of a better term. Just because guys are kind of laying on the line. You kind of had the same thing here with Homestead. You get a little bit of surprise there in the playoff mix, really rattle some things up there. Before we dive into that though, let's just talk about the race itself. What was your guys' impression with the Homestead race this past weekend?
Needs to be on the schedule, no doubt. I do think it needs to stay in the playoffs too.
Sure.
You got guys.
I know part of that race, it felt kind of drawn on. It's just kind of like there wasn't a lot going. I mean, the restarts were all over the place. I mean, especially with the amount of lanes you could run there. I mean, the restarts were all over the place, which is great. I kind of felt like it was a little drawn on, but I mean, again, it's playoff race. The intensity wraps up, and I mean, you get guys that were making mistakes or having issues, and playoffs are all over the place now.
Yep.
So first off, yeah, awesome track. You love a track where, it's not dirt, but you got guys trying to throw sliders and old Blaney cussing about Denny trying to
Oh,
slide.
I love it.
And,
That was awesome. I love it.
no, I thought I put on a good show. I watched a video. I probably sound like a broken record. But like again, that was a track where you got guys running all over the track. Guys running the apron, 1 lane up, 2 lanes up, and then you got the bold and the brave that are running that thing 2 inches from the wall. And yeah, I thought from a racing standpoint, I like it in the playoffs. I like where it's at. But I was going to pose the question, depending on your thoughts, Kellen, you obviously sound more on the optimistic side of it and liking it. Is that a track? Is that a Vegas? Should we go to that track twice?
I don't mind it. I don't mind going twice. I do think it has to stay in the playoffs without a doubt, but I wouldn't mind going twice. It's a track that it's a different style of racing up against the fence. Guys wrapping the bottom or sliding the bottom per se. But I do think that that style of race produces good finishes, good restarts. It keeps interesting, especially with the stage breaks. I know you got, and I agree with Van Grohl. It did feel like at one point it just felt like we were just making laps. Like it felt like it got a little drawn out, but once you got the boys regrouped, we were back to duking it out again. So
Yep.
You knew that anticipation was building, whether it be a stage break or somebody losing a tire or whatever the
Green
situation.
flag pit stops.
Yeah,
Yep.
You knew that the boys were going to get regrouped again. That they were going to have to be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. I don't know if Homestead could definitely make a case for having a second race, but I think just with the variety of tracks that there are on the schedule, and I love the variety of tracks that are on the schedule, I think that ends up on the list of tracks that if you're going to run only one race there, I think that's one of those tracks that ends up only getting one race. You got to cut somewhere, and I just feel like that's the race that gets cut personally. No, at that end of the race there, I mean, you had guys that were swapping lead. I mean, you had Blaney that was leading a ton of laps. You had Byron that was leading some laps. Bubba led early in that race. Hamlin led the majority of those laps. He led 31 of those laps. So you had a lot of guys that were swapping lead. I didn't realize this, but Blaney led a ton of laps, 53 laps in that race. Jesus.
I just saw, I was going to try to pull up a video of Larson. Anybody see his in-car cam of him running the wall?
Yeah, it was nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Insane.
I saw one with Junior running the wall too, which there was another headline, Junior coming back to run Homestead this past weekend.
FYI, Denny did say it's not a hack move.
It's not a hack move.
No, no, I didn't read the whole article, but it's just there's a quote that says Denny says that's 2 people racing, by the way, for a final 4 of a championship. It's just interesting. People are like, why are you racing Blaney so hard? What are you talking about?
I wasn't mad about. I was mad that Hamlin was trying to throw sliders and wasn't committed. Like,
you mean pulling up even to him?
Yeah, they were so, and I was yelling. I'm like, God damn it, Hamlin, you're ruining Blaney's runs here. Yeah, Blaney's getting off the gas and he's losing his run, and you can tell I'm getting animated about it. But God damn it. He had a car that could have won that race, and just those runs hurt him.
Let's go, Danny. Use them up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's short track racing.
Yeah, it's short track. Yeah, it's short track race, and he's gonna get put in the wall if he has that kind of attitude going into it.
Well, then after he breaks, then Blaney comes on the radio and drops the old F-bomb on him.
Yep.
But no, that was yeah,
Talking about
that was good racing.
And talking about getting to the end of that race, I mean, it was, for a while there, you had all four of them that were kind of in contention of, a guy slips up, somebody's going to go by and you could do a little bit of side draft. And it's just the guys were all four of them, Byron, Reddick, Blaney, and Bell. They were all in contention for that win there right at the end. And ultimately ends up being Bell that gets the win. And, I think kind of steals a playoff spot here in the Final Four, just like he did last year at Martinsville. Kind of steals a spot.
Definitely stole one. You're looking at 3 stones to not one of us out of 12 Final Four picks. Not one of us put C-Bell in. So
yeah,
I would definitely say stole one.
But I mean, he ran second last week too. So I mean, it's
and we've kind of alluded to that past couple weeks. We can sit here and say he stole one. I would say by our picks, but for any of us to sit here and say we're surprised that he got a win,
I don't think any of us are.
No, he's been firing on all cylinders at the right time of the year. Like they're dialed in.
He's been kind of going. So I'm looking at his most recent finishes. So we'll start in the playoffs here. Started off rough. He was 23rd at Darlington. He was 8th at Kansas and 3rd at Bristol. Then he was 4th at Texas, 14th at Dega, 15th at Roval, 2nd at Vegas, 1st at Homestead. Which, by the way, of those races, he was on the pole for 4 of them and 2nd for another one of those. So he's starting up front, and he was finally able to stay up front and finish out front for this one.
I mean, the Bell did win his way through at Martinsville last year, so that shouldn't be a surprise. But I don't know. I didn't think he'd get it done at Homestead.
Yep. MTJ, his playoff woes kind of keep going here. Definitely, again, was animated about not having a good card, and
it's not his fault he blew up.
Oh yes, yes. But still, it's not like he was running good during that race. I mean, crazy. He was down to 26th at one point in time.
What was he saying on the radio when he said I'm done with this shit? Or he said I'm done listening or something. He came on the radio.
I thought it was something along the lines of the last time I listened to you as far as an adjustment goes or something along that line. Yeah, he's for a guy, he had all kinds of confidence coming in this playoffs. That confidence isn't there.
Good thing he signed up for another year of this.
Oh.
No, but that was somebody who
just
Yeah, talking about Donald's
head scratching.
Was not having a good time.
You had Hamlin hit the wall, and you had Truex blow up in a matter of 3 laps.
Tough scene for Joe Gibbs. And
again, highest of highs. You have one driver lock himself in, a guy you probably didn't expect to lock himself in, and your 2 you thought shoe-ins, lock-ins are on the outside looking in, going into Martinsville.
Yikes.
So, I think the other big headline, or not headline, but conversation come out of it was Larson and his, he wanted to enjoy the beach a little bit there in Miami.
Yeah, he went Bahaing.
He found the sand for that one.
Excuse my language, but Blaney checked him up.
He did. He was conservative. He was
5 mile an hour conservative.
5.
Give me a break.
But what's
Give
Larson
me
doing
a
too? I mean, he was
break.
coming in. What was the okay? Even if
Listen
Larson
to me
missed
for a
Blaney,
second.
what were the chances of him hitting pit road speed?
Good. Blaney checked him up because you got to remember this car's got the bigger brakes on it. Blaney checked him up, pinched him, give him a half a lane to the wall, and Larson had nowhere to go. It was either one, commitment lane violation, or two, to sand wall.
Blaney was running his line coming into pit road.
He knew Larson had the better car. I think that was the problem.
I
No,
don't.
I don't think Larson was gonna make it. I think he came screaming in there. But utter mistake, and he's lucky he's locked in. Is what it comes down to.
You know, somebody I saw a clip from Door Bumper Clear. It was is this an instance of Larson running out of talent, or was it just overstepping a boundary? And I mean, I had a quick thought about it was I don't think it's necessarily him running out of talent. I think it's just him overstepping boundaries. He goes for big or broke, and he does it multiple times on the year.
And it for him, I think it's definitely overstepping. But to that point, my counter argument is he's locked in. So he's running up front. He's got nothing to lose. Hey, here's a chance to gain some serious ground on the leader. I'm taking it. You best believe I'm going to get every inch I can. If he gets a speeding penalty, okay, we're locked in. Do your pass through penalty, get going. But I just think that is a situation of somebody who's got himself locked in. He can afford to take more chances and do things that other people can't. Now, Blaney coming to pit road like he's driving through the downtown Stratford going 25 miles an hour.
I mean, yes, Blaney definitely checked up there, but it's again, guys are coming in, you know, they're hitting the wall. Why did Larson go outside to try and miss Blaney and not inside? Like that'd be the other part of that conversation. I think. I mean, call me an idiot if you think I'm an idiot, but
I mean,
no, I just think it's a matter of how you practice getting on pit road in practice is what it comes down.
And I mean, yeah, he was hitting his marks, and his marks are right at that wall.
Yeah. It just was two different styles clashed at the same instant. And there was just no. They just bucked heads, and Larson had to make a decision. He decided to take the wall instead of wrecking Blaney. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Blaney's pit road speed started a couple football fields before pit road. No,
There's so many scenarios that went on with it. You can't point. I mean, sure, somebody can point fingers at who's to blame, but I'm sure both of them have their sides of the stories and two different sides of the stories. And at the end of the day, you move on. You got another race to, and like you said, Larson was locked in, so it's not the end of the world for him. It's just, going out there trophy hunting. It's a trophy you couldn't get.
Yeah.
So,
Bell gets in.
Again, turns the playoffs around. We're going into Martinsville. We'll touch on Martinsville a little bit, but Byron's 30 to the good, Blaney's 10 to the good, Reddick's 10 out, Truex and Hamlin are 10 out, and Buescher's 43 out. So I mean, you got guys that are concerned that thought were going to be locks, and you got maybe one guy that you didn't think was going to be in it that's in it, and things could get shaken up here once we leave Martinsville.
You could almost say that those three outside of Byron are in must win.
Yeah. Because you can't guarantee everybody else what they're going to do.
Right.
Yep.
So as long as Byron runs decent, finishes the race in the top 15, you could pretty much lock him in.
Yep,
Blaney
for sure.
Plus 10.
Blaney's plus 10.
I can't even believe it.
plus 10. Hey,
You
right
are gonna have
now,
a brick in your shorts on
I'm a
this Sunday
fan. I'm a
afternoon.
fan of two people right now, Blaney and Byron. Because if Byron wins, that just increases Blaney's chances of getting in.
Unbelievable.
Well,
So
then you can throw Bell in there.
true. Bell or Larson. I need any of them three guys to win. If it isn't Blaney,
Got to remember Martin Truex is pretty solid there too. So
he is. Yep. And again, we'll discuss that a little bit as we get into it. But
yeah,
Hey, one side note that I was gonna bring up on just to finish looking at, the top 10 of Homestead. Somebody who we've talked about and their race team we've talked about a fair amount on when we first started getting into this, and the team hasn't announced plans and he's unsure what he's doing, but AJ Allmendinger,
throw it up.
he
top
backed
5
up the
look,
performance from the Roval to this. Yeah.
top 5. And again, I don't know what the situation is, who's going cup racing for Colleague next year, but I mean, outside of one person, I think he should have his job there. Like,
I agree. I think
Yeah,
he brings just too much valuable insight as far as a cup driver standpoint that
veteran, way
yeah,
veteran
100%.
driver.
100%.
People don't realize how long he's been around.
Oh yeah.
He's been around for a long time, so I think that veteran OS, I think, is more valuable,
Yep.
especially to some young cup drivers like Hemrick, who, yes, he's been a cup driver before, but he's also young. So
Yep. And Allmendinger, who I think is in a lot more comfortable spot and a happier spot with Colleague than he was with JTG or even Red Bull or anything like that. It's
yeah,
the driver's committed, he's happy, and when a driver's happy, the performance is there. The team's got the team is backing him up. He said, I'm gonna be with Colleague in some way, shape, or form. So that the team's got, he's got the backing of the team. That's a big plus too.
and Colleague even said he'll retire in Colleague
Yep.
uniform in some fashion. So
Yep.
it's just they got to figure out on the backside of what they want to do and where they're most happy and what's most beneficial for everybody. So,
Yep.
kind of a cool deal.
So no, again, Homestead, and again, another good race. And again, you get to the championship season and the intensity ramps up and it shows in the race. And again, it puts out a good race. So any final thoughts before we kind of move into one of the other big headlines from this week of racing?
No, man, solid.
no, good weekend of racing on the cup side. Definitely got to shake up the things here with nobody expected, Blaney being up plus 10. Team looks to be firing on all cylinders right now, but next weekend,
Edge of your seat, better be there.
elbows up and check the belts twice because
Oh yeah.
things are gonna get rowdy.
And no, you can't ride the wall this year either. That's a no this year. So
I watched that video the other day. Stupid, but can we actually acknowledge the fact of what he pulled off?
oh, it's phenomenal. It's going to go down as one of the greatest race moves of all time.
Utter insanity to just put her on the wall and peg it.
Literally drop a gear and disappear. I mean, yeah.
That move was insane. So, no, I'm looking forward to this coming weekend. Martinsville is always an awesome track, short track. The boys are going to be banging. See if we can get a Denny Hamlin short track racing. And hey, at the end of this weekend, we'll have a little bit more clarity on our final 4 picks.
That we will. So typically in this segment, we would transition to some race previews. A little lighter as far as the races this weekend, but we also got a pretty big headline that came out of the 410 sprint car scene that we're gonna do one for one trade. We're gonna give up a preview and we're gonna cover this. High limit sprint car series acquires the All Star Circuit of Champs. There were some rumors twirling around the past couple weeks, the last 2 weeks of or two races of the high limit series, and it comes to fruition here. And tell you what, the 410 sprint car scene's looking a lot brighter in the future with this or this transition going on. So Cam, I guess we'll start with you. What's your thoughts with this whole transition, and then what you're kind of looking forward to out of it?
No, I think it's going to be awesome. And we touched on this in one of our first episodes when the rumor first came up. We were already talking about it. What it's going to do to the sprint car scene. And I think this is an awesome move. And you said when Tony Stewart sold it, his quote on, I'm just paraphrasing, but if he was going to sell it, he was going to sell it to two people who he knows are passionate and committed to the sprint car scene, and it was what's going to do best for the drivers in the series. And yeah, I think we got a glimpse of what it'll be with high limit this year. Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson did a phenomenal job with that. And so, yeah, I think it's awesome. I think those two are going to do a phenomenal job. I think it's going to be more. I think there's going to be a bigger draw to that series. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What does Brad Sweet do now? He's a world outlaw guy.
And he's even mentioned too that he's only got maybe a handful of years left in the world of outlaws before he hangs it up. Does this maybe play his hand and
does that speed up those few years?
Yeah. Yep.
But no, I think I'm going to be curious just to see what the schedule is they lay out. Are they going to keep? I haven't read all the details on it, but we'll just be curious to see what the schedule plan is, what they lay out for a schedule. If it's going to be similar to, are they going to run, a schedule like they did last year, a lot of races like the All-Star Circuit did, or are they going to kind of tone it back and do maybe, a middle ground, maybe 20 races, high limited, I think 11. Maybe they try to find a middle
12
ground.
There's first year with the high limit.
12, and the All-Star Series ran a bunch. So maybe they find a middle ground and maybe they run, 20 big shows. And I think that'd be awesome. So I think it's a great move. I think this dirt sprint cars are in great hands, and yeah, I think it's an awesome move. So
couple thoughts I had. So Brad Sweet, number one, pretty much has his 5th straight World of Outlaws title wrapped up. So I don't necessarily think he's got anything to prove anymore from a driving standpoint per se. He's gonna win his 5th straight title. So that's insane in itself. 2, I could see them blending both the All-Star Circuit Champions and High Limit and doing a couple big time midweek shows, but then running their regular stuff. Maybe that Tuesday night show is somewhere between. We're racing at Knoxville and they're going to go somewhere in Kentucky. They find somewhere like Fairbury or somewhere in the middle, and they do a Tuesday night midweek show for some big money. I could see them maybe eliminating a weekend here or a weekend there and doing a bigger time Tuesday night show somewhere that's reasonable to get to and on the way to where you're headed for the next track. So I think that's a good mashup in the middle of those two. With that, but I don't know. I mean, I think these guys are in right away when this rumor started to swirl. I think a lot of people were talking about how they're going to treat teams and drivers. These are sprint car guys. They will take care of them, whether
Yep.
that's in paydays, whether that's in hospitality, whether that's in location, whether that's in travel, whatever they can do, they will take care of these guys. And that's going to be, I think, what in a high limit said, we'll have a schedule and a driver roster coming out. I'm going to tell you, I think that puts the World of Outlaws, and as much as we want to say competition is a bad or a good thing to a certain degree, well, Knoxville came out and said they've got the World of Outlaw sprint cars at Knoxville, the weekend NASCARs at Iowa. You don't think that they have already game planned or they knew this was going to happen? They were
started
already
stealing
stringing stuff
updates right away.
together. They're going to try to put these big shows together
Yep.
to try to draw guys to that series. So again, competition is a good thing, but I just think when you look at how he's going to treat these guys, I think Larson and Sweet are. And the other side of this is that's going to hurt our old boy Casey Kane's racing program. Brad Sweet steps away. What does Casey Kane do? And he runs a B main. He maybe will make the feature.
Well, but who's to say that if Sweet does leave the World of Outlaws, that maybe he runs the full high limits all-star circuit of champs schedule with a Casey Kane car?
True.
Just because Kane could still run the World of Outlaws, but he could still have Sweet running the all-star circuit of champs in one of his cars.
True.
I mean, that's a whole separate deal in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely, you're not wrong. I think it'll just take him a little time to balance the
promoter and owner and
race director, logistics guy with somebody setting up his race cars and getting them ready to race.
But ultimately, that comes down to having those people in those places to take care of that.
Yep.
Ultimately, Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson, they're there to one, have those people in place, but two, maybe have the pull as far as sponsorships and paydays and tracks that they go to. But when it comes to the day-to-day operations, they've got the people in place to handle that.
That's famous quote of all time: hire good people around you, then you don't have to worry too much.
Yep, 100%. And that's what Stewart's done with the countless ventures that he's in between Eldora, the All-Star Circuit of Champs, his NHRA program. I mean, Stewart Haas Racing, what the hell else he's in, it's okay. He's got the pull. He'll find people that'll, if money needs to be found, he'll help in that way. But day-to-day operations, people are in place.
SRX too. Yeah.
Yes, SRX, another good example. Yep.
That dude's got his hand in literally everything.
But that tells you how much of a racer he is too.
He does a good job with it.
Yes, sure. 100%. So no, I'm also looking forward to it, and going on that competition side thing too. It's yes, you want the series to have their distinction. Lucas Oil and World of Late Models, you want to have their distinctions and their drivers and whatnot. But racing is good when everybody's working together. And even if there's a handful of weeks that World Outlaws, yep, that's their schedule. Knoxville Nationals is a good example of that. The Kings Royal, whatever. It could even be track specials for all I know. Again, tells you my expertise in dirt racing nowadays. But even if there's some races where World Outlaw, these are our weekends, we're gonna have these guys. All-Star Circuit Champs, they come in. All right, we've got our handful of weekends. We want those guys here for these races. Every other time, it's we've got, World Outlaws are out west and the high limits are in Midwest. Whoever shows up, that type of thing. So it's, if they could share drivers for some weeks, I think that's where you're going to see the ultimate. Everybody's healthy, but everybody's distinct too.
True. I'd agree.
And
at the end of the day, you're going to have guys that are going to run specials for both series. And at some point, they're going to have to pick if they're going to run which for points.
Sure.
And that's okay. They have to make that decision as a team.
The nature of racing.
Decide, But at the end of the day, I think they have to coincide somewhat in harmony
Yeah.
for a little healthy competition.
Yep. And just healthy racing, period.
True.
So, no high limits. They said that like you said, they're going to come out with their schedule and then drivers as soon as they got something. I'm sure same thing with the World Outlaws. They're going to come out with something too. No, I would like to see the good mix of weekend races and midweek shows. I don't think we're going to see as many midweek shows, but I think those that we're going to see are still going to have those very high paying races to go with maybe some crown jewel weekend races. So I think they're going to pretty much pick up right where the All-Star Circuit Champs left off. Maybe a slightly smaller schedule because of those midweek shows, but I think it's going to pretty well keep its identity that it's already had.
With some added value for the midweek shows.
Yep, 100%. 100%. So, no, I'm excited to see what that schedule turns out to be. Again, it's the state of 410 racing is very healthy, and I'm excited to see what the years have to come with it. So, moving on into our previews, again, it's kind of slowing down as far as the year goes. Not many races coming up, so we only got 2 here for you. Starting out with the Hunt the Front series in their National 100. Kel and Cam, I know you guys are big followers of the Hunt the Front, so I'll let you guys take that one over. What are some things you're looking forward to for this weekend?
Yeah, so kind of diving into the old National 100. Pretty cool deal with Hunt the Front TV broadcasting this one. So unfortunately for us Flow people, it's not on Flow anymore. But I think that's good for Hunt the Front and everything they're doing with their broadcast series. Side note, they came out with their 2024 payout for their Super Dirt Series. Pretty hefty little pay increase they got going on down there. So that's a pretty cool deal for them. But going back to that National 100, pretty cool deal there. Kind of a little bit of a history lesson. Our very own Jimmy Mars won that bad boy in 2008. Bloomer has won the race 8 times between 1990 and 2003. Pretty wild deal for him to win that. But looking back at the most recent couple of years here, you got a 2-time defending winner in Brandon Overton. He won in 2022 and 2021. And then Joseph Joyner from Hunt the Front himself winning it in 2020. So those are your 3 previous winners. Pretty heavy entry list. You got Ricky Thornton Jr. going down there to run that. He's good buddies with Jesse Enterkin, who was a part of the HTF crew. So Jesse had that news that he was going to run before anyone really else knew. So hop on over HTF or Hunt the Front TV. Check that out for the weekend. That's kind of a big one. 100 lapper at East Alabama Motor Speedway, a racetrack with no walls. So you can get run off the racetrack, and they're racing for $49,000. So again, a pretty significant payday on a racetrack that is going to get really racy. Again, I believe it is it a half mile, Cam? No, might be a 3rd mile. But pretty good banking in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Pretty good banking. So it's a racy track. So pretty cool deal down there for the National 100 with Hunt the Front running the broadcast for that.
Yeah, I think you kind of covered it all. It definitely is going to be a good show, and like you said, Hunt the Front appears they're on to something, and maybe they're on to something before. Well, they're probably 2 steps ahead of what we think they are, but yeah, cool deal for them. Broadcasting it on their TV, and like you said, anytime you're throwing in Overton, RTJ, and Joyner with that win in 2020, it was wild. Yeah, that last lap pass when that forget who it was that
those 2 cars got together.
Yeah, and he swooped in and stole it for the 50K payday, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, previous years that track's been really racy, and Hopefully you can stack a few more big names on the entry list, and it'll be good.
Side note,
Side note for you fellas, it's a 3/8 mile.
3 mile.
Is Enerkin, is he gonna run it or no?
They may take the crate car for him, not the super, I don't think. Or am I wrong? I haven't watched the most recent video, and maybe they haven't put one out yet this week, but I haven't watched it. Side note, speak of bigger names, Tyler Erb Turbo finished second in 2022. So Joyner finishing third on that podium. So again, another big name. So it's crown jewel
Good.
season.
Crown Jewel, and that is gonna, outside of the Charlotte race for World Outlaws, we're about ready to cap dirt racing. And
Yeah.
I got a couple of Flow Night in America races after that.
Sonoya.
Yep,
November 12th.
got another Hunt the Front race. I'm looking at the schedule right now. And then you got, what is this, the XR Super Series?
Yep.
Got a couple of those, and then yeah, that's about it before Chili Bowl.
Yep, because they got Castro is going to Sonoya for 2 nights in a row, Cam.
Yep.
I think that's November 12th.
10th and 11th.
Yep. That's HTF territory too, Sonoya.
Yeah, when do we get into dome season?
That's Bubba's territory too. Old Bubba Pollard. They own that family owns that track.
Yep. Dome season is like it's 14th to the 16th, I believe.
We need to
I
get
don't
that
have
on
it
the
on
schedule.
here.
Yeah, come on.
I don't, we're lacking. No, again, if you got the opportunity, definitely tune in, keep an eye on that one. Other big race, obviously, this weekend is the Cup race at Martinsville. We touched on a little bit with some of the playoff implications going into it. Looking back at last year, which I was at that race last year, great place if you ever want to go to that track. It's a track that you don't think would belong in that type of town, but lo and behold, there it is. There's the railroad that goes by that never fails, that there's a train that goes by during the race. It just kind of gives you that old school feeling. Looking back at last year's race, obviously Bell surprised everybody by winning that race. Your top 5 was Bell, Larson, Blaney, Chastain with his amazing wall ride. And Hamlin was your top 5. Brad Keselowski was in the top 5 before he was disqualified in post-race tech. Hamlin led the majority of that race, so he'll be good there. Truex is also very good at that track with a handful of wins to his name for there. So, no, it's going to be another great race there. Playoff implications, again, it ramps up the intensity of that race. So I think qualifying is going to be big for that one. It's going to set the tone as far as track position goes.
And track position's vital when you're fighting for the bottom all the time.
Yes, 100%. So
that's not a place you can set the car up to run the top.
Looking back at the race earlier this year there, Kyle Larson was your winner there. Joey Logano was second. Truex was third. Hamlin was fourth. Chase Briscoe was fifth. Looking at the other playoff drivers, Blaney was 7th in that race. Buescher was 14th in that race. Bell was 16th in that race. Let's see, who else am I missing? Reddick was 22nd. Byron was 23rd. Yep.
Wow. Yeesh.
So you're gonna have and they ran all the laps too, by the way. They were all on the lead lap. So
that's a surprise with Byron being 23rd.
And on the lead lap.
Yeah.
So
side note real quick, Dirt Dome is December 14th to 16th. I just looked.
We'll make sure to add that in here on our little schedule too.
Yep. Are we going into picks here, or what's the situation?
I think I'm ready for picks if you fellows are.
Yeah, who goes first? Is that me?
No, it is going to be Cam went first. He was the low man on the totem pole for fantasy last week. So pick an order is going to be Cam, Kellen, and then myself.
All right, Cam, go ahead.
I am looking at previous race results.
You
And
better be careful. You're going to get the paralysis by analysis here.
no paralysis by analysis. I'm looking at the 2 races last year and the one race this year. And
Suppose I should halfway get an idea who I want here too.
I got my guy.
You're just going off of a whim.
oh yeah, there he is. Not going to playoff contender, playoff driver, and I'm going in an even sketchier direction, and I'm going in the Ford camp, and I'm going
Oh
Joey
God,
Logano.
I knew you were going there.
Somebody
Jesus
who's
Christ, what happened to you?
last year April race, he finished P2.
Yuck.
Last year the playoff race, he finished P6. Earlier this year, P8. Somebody's got a good track record there. And I'm getting sick of picking a playoff guy, and Blaney ain't gonna get it done. And look, I gotta make some ground somehow, and I gotta start going outside the norm. So we're gonna start that trend this week and swing for the fences. And I like Joey this weekend.
Okay. Well, I like Truex this weekend. I'll pick him again. He blew up last week, but I'll pick him again.
All right.
I don't even need a reason. I'm just gonna take him to win it to get into the final four.
Oh, you're putting me in a predicament here.
Great finish here last year, going into the final four there, P20 finish. So
for Truex.
yeah,
sounds good.
look for him to be up front.
Yep, for sure.
I'm bouncing 3 heads in my name right now. I'm going to eliminate one because I know I'm going to get shit for it, and I just don't like his chances.
Blaney.
Yep, that's the one I'm kicking out.
Terminated. Okay. Yep. What are the other two?
You know what? I'll stir the pot here a little bit.
God.
Let's go with it's short track racing himself. I'm going to go with Hamlin.
God damn it.
I'll stir that pot.
That's you guys. You guys can duke it out as teammates.
I hate that for you.
With that in mind, we're talking about duking it out as teammates. Let's because we're gonna have a little bit of a modified championship 4 because of Bell. Who are we taking as our last 2 championship picks here? So Cam, we'll go the same pick in order here. Cam, who are your final 2 championship 4 drivers after Martinsville?
Bell Larson, Byron's locked in. I'd say Denny.
You're gonna go with Denny. Okay. Kellen, you're going.
I got my champ, dude. My champ's not out yet. I'm gonna go Byron, and then I'm gonna take MTJ. My champ is still in it. I've been riding him the whole playoffs. I gotta stick with him.
Dude, maybe the black curse on Truex. Maybe you should go off of him once.
No, people don't like him and James Small's dialogue because apparently they yell at each other, but the dude gets shit done. So
yeah,
we're going in.
Well, I'm gonna keep Byron because he was my champ as well, if I remember correct. Let me double check because I never.
Hopefully, he doesn't get a flat on lap 1.
Yes, Byron is my champ, so I'm keeping him in there. I'm gonna hedge my bets here a little bit though. I picked Hamlin to win the race. I'm gonna keep that pick, but I'm gonna hedge my bets as far as championship 4 just because I want to be hopeful and Hopefully I could drink a lot of beer afterwards, but I am going to pick Blaney as my other championship 4.
Wait,
I said I'm hedging my bets. I'm going 2 different directions here.
okay.
Hopefully I'm right in one of them. Be a situation if I just shit the bed all together.
That's what
Yeah.
we're looking for.
Yep, MTJ is gonna do that for you. Just a heads up.
Let's throw another oddball pick here. The Trucks, they've locked in their championship for Phoenix. Your championship 4 are Corey Heim, Grant Enfinger, Carson Hocevar, and Ben Rhodes. Fellas, who are we picking for? Oh, you're pumping the brakes here.
That's next week.
Oh, you're gonna save that for next week?
Next week we'll go round table, all 3 series.
Pick all of our 4. Okay,
That's fair. I like
that's
that
fair.
idea.
I like that. But again, we'll touch on that. Championship 4 got locked up. Those are your championship 4. We'll cover our picks for that next week then. So
Oh yeah, you can mention I don't know if you mentioned Heim, Enfinger, Hocevar, and Rhodes.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say no, you can't talk about it.
Oh, sure.
No, those 4 did lock in this past weekend, but I was saying let's
Save the picking for next week. Yep, I got you.
We'll do all 3 series: Xfinity, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks. We'll go all 3.
Oh, you bet.
So cool. No, any final thoughts here before we wrap up another solid episode of the Tuesday Track Talk here, fellas?
No, I was kind of alluding to it. And I was trying to get our schedule up on Instagram. But the schedule just gets small, and I couldn't scale the picture to get into Instagram. But the races are getting fewer, but they are getting more and more critical.
Yeah.
So the importance of them is way, way higher. Not that the regular season doesn't matter, but when you're in a do or die, it's a little bit different scenario. So we got fewer races to cover. We got some great off-season topics we're going to touch on here as we wind down here in 2 weeks. But no, man, the importance of these races are getting bigger and bigger as we go. So we're literally racing for titles now. So fewer races to cover, but the trophies are coming, and so are the big checks.
Yeah, and I don't think you can say much better. We crowned our first champion. We've really been paying attention to or following closely with Lucas Oil. So yeah, sad to say racing season's winding down, but we got 2 weekends, and it's going to be on the NASCAR side, it's going to be just a wild weekend. So like you said, the races are winding down, but the pressure is and every move is magnified. So yeah, looking forward to another awesome weekend of racing, and I already cut the promo for the Badger game on Saturday night. So be looking forward to that. Cut the promo, but still don't have a great feeling about it. But 1-9. Hey, we're 1-9 in the last 10 games. So, like I said in the intro, shit stops this weekend though. So
there you go.
Well, good episode. As always, we are always trying to just grow this thing. So we'd love feedback on what you like, didn't like, any ideas, series you want us to cover. Or if you got any ideas for a wild guest that you'd want to hop on and have us chit chat with, send us that way. And yeah. Share our podcast with your racing buddies and let's talk racing.
One more that I do want to throw in real quick before we say our goodbyes. Wheel and Modifieds they're wrapping up their season at Martinsville this weekend. Hey, we're talking about championship season. They're
No,
right
you
in this.
said one more thing before we say our goodbyes. Like you make it sound like we're not going to see
Oh,
each other for another
Jesus.
3 or 4
Till next week.
Yeah.
No, Wheeling Modified, their championships wrap it up here too at Martinsville. Always ends up being a good race. It's basically a 2-horse race. Ron Silk is your championship leader, and I'm gonna try not to botch this. Justin Bonsinger,
Monsignor. Yep.
is 13 back. So still up for grabs for their championship there. If you got the opportunity, definitely tune in for that. That is a Thursday night race for those that are wanting to tune in.
And those are on Flow.
Those
Yep.
are on Flow. So,
Yep.
well, I know what I'm doing Thursday night. So no, keep an eye on that as well. So no, again, great season. We're getting down the championship season. If your local short tracks are still going, make sure to hit up their championship seasons, and they're off. You're off with a bang. Again, always don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on the videos, hit the little bell for any time that we're posting anything. You're the first to know about it. Yeah, another banger episode here, fellas. We're clicking them off, and I'm telling you, I'm excited for the off season. We're gonna have some really good discussions coming up in the off season. So, no, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.